Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we are going to look at some seriously cool research about AI that can, simulate real people, down to the super small details.
Well, it's amazing work.
It's just mind-blowing.
Right. What's so fascinating about it is that these aren't just, generalized AI.
Right.
We're talking AI agents that are modeled after specific individuals. And these AI agents are built from, these super in-depth interviews all about their beliefs, their opinions, even how they decide things, how they make decisions.
Yeah, you sent over this paper called Generative Agent Simulations of 1,000 People.
Yeah.
I mean, it already sounds like we're in a sci-fi movie.
It does.
But they really did it.
Yeah, they interviewed over 1,000 people for 2 hours each.
Wow.
Covering, everything you can imagine. Life stories, their opinions on, really controversial issues.
And what I thought was really interesting is how they kept those interviews, consistent.
Yeah.
They used an AI interviewer.
That's really...
Yeah, that could ask follow-up questions in real time based on what that person was saying.
In real time, which is wild.
Okay, so that is super cool.
Yeah.
But how do you even go from thousands of hours of these interviews to AI that acts like a real person?
Right. So that's where large language models, or LLMs, come in.
Okay.
And you can kind of think of them as supercharged prediction engines. They've been trained on just massive amounts of text data, so they can learn all the patterns and how people use language, how they express themselves. So the researchers, they fed all of those interview transcripts into this LLM, and it was able to create a unique generative agent for each person.
So each AI was basically trained on a single person's thoughts and experiences.
Exactly.
That's wild.
It's wild.
But did it work?
Right. Yeah.
Did these AI doppelgangers actually pass the test?
Yeah. Could they predict how the real people would react in different situations?
Right.
And that's really the mind-blowing part of all of this. They gave both the AI and the real people all kinds of tests, personality quizzes, even those kind of tricky behavioral economics games that try to predict, how people cooperate or compete with each other.
Okay, so what happened? Spill the beans.
Yeah.
Did the AI act like the real people?
They did.
Get out!
They were able to predict the real people's answers with 85% accuracy.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
And here's the crazy part.
Okay.
That's about as accurate as those same people replicating their own answers 2 weeks later.
What?
So the AI was basically as good at knowing someone as if you'd known them for 2 weeks straight.
Okay, my mind is officially blown.
Right.
85%. But was it just because they had so much personal information about each person?
Yeah, couldn't you get pretty close just knowing someone's age, gender, those basic facts?
Right.
And that's what the researchers really wanted to test.
Of course.
Right. So they compared these interview-based AIs to AI that was built using just demographics or these short personality profiles.
Right.
And the difference was really, it was significant.
Wow.
Those interview-based AIs were way more accurate. And that just proves how powerful it is to dive deep into these personal stories and experiences.
So it's not just about knowing what about a person, it's about understanding the why behind, their beliefs and their actions. That's what makes these deep interviews so powerful.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing they didn't stop there, did they?
No, these researchers.
Right.
They had to really put these AIs through the ringer.
Okay.
So they designed 5 social science experiments.
What?
The kind that test things like fairness, how power dynamics play out.
Wait, so they threw these AIs into scenarios almost like actors playing a role.
Kind of, yeah.
How do they even do that?
Well, the AIs were built from all those interview transcripts.
Right.
Well, that gave them kind of a memory stream of that person's experiences and opinions. So the researchers could basically just drop them into a situation and see how they would react based on, their own unique personality.
So let me guess. The AI actually mirrored how real people behaved in those same experiments.
Yeah, and that's what makes this research so incredibly significant.
Right.
It suggests that AI can capture not just how individuals think, but also the patterns and how groups of people might react in different situations.
It's like we're getting a glimpse into the future of AI and how it can predict human behavior.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
It's like having a virtual lab of human behavior.
Okay, that's all really cool.
Yeah.
But tell me, how did they actually create all these AI agents?
Okay.
Did they actually have to build a new AI for every single person?
That's a really great question. You see, while they created a unique AI agent for each of the 1,000 people in the research, the real breakthrough is the process.
Okay.
They figured out how to generate these agents from any set of interview transcripts as long as they're detailed enough. They didn't build 1,000 different AIs. They built a system for building an AI from any interview.
Okay, now my mind is really blown.
Yeah.
So they're not building AIs. They're building an AI factory
Right.
that can just churn these things out for anyone.
Yeah.
And they tested these like off-the-shelf AIs, right?
Yeah.
Do those work as well as the original 1,000?
They do. They even published another paper showing that they could create these AIs for public figures.
Wow.
Just based on interviews and their public statements. And it turns out they could even replicate those personality quirks and tendencies that those public figures are known for.
This is amazing.
It is.
It sounds like the possibilities are kind of endless.
Yeah.
I bet we could use these AIs to study all sorts of things about how people think and make decisions.
Exactly. The applications are mind-boggling. But, we have to be careful.
Right.
We're talking about very personal information here.
Yeah.
This kind of technology raises all sorts of questions about privacy and how we use AI responsibly.
That's a really good point. But for now, let's just, stick to the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I am dying to hear more about the experiments they ran with these AIs.
Okay.
Let's dive into those details right after this.
Sounds good. It is really exciting to think about all the things we could do with this AI agent technology.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But where do we even start? The research paper mentioned using these AIs for, testing public health campaigns and even urban planning.
Right.
I can already see how that could be super useful.
Yeah, imagine, being able to test different messages about, say, healthy eating habits on a group of AI agents that represent a diverse population. You could see which messages, really connect with different personality types or which demographics maybe need a different approach.
Right.
All before you launch, a real-world campaign.
That'd be amazing.
Right.
You could really tailor your messaging so much more effectively.
Yeah.
It's like having, a hyper-realistic focus group.
Exactly.
But, right there at your fingertips.
Yeah, no more awkward conference room.
Right.
And stale cookies.
Exactly.
And think about, urban planning.
Okay.
Instead of just guessing how people might use, a new public transportation system, you could simulate it with these AI agents.
Okay. Yeah.
You could see if it actually, reduces traffic congestion, how different neighborhoods are impacted.
It's like having a crystal ball.
Right?
That shows you how different decisions might play out.
It is.
In a super complex system.
Yeah, and it's not just about predicting those outcomes, right?
Right.
By studying how these AIs make decisions, we can, learn so much more about what really drives human behavior.
Okay, so we've talked about all the cool things this technology could do, but did they actually do it?
Yeah.
Did the researchers actually run these AI agents through those 5 social science experiments they designed?
They did.
Okay.
And the results were pretty amazing.
Okay, tell me more.
The AI agents, they basically mirrored the patterns of behavior that were seen in the original experiments with real people.
So they weren't just able to, copy individual behavior.
Right.
They were able to actually replicate how groups of people interact.
Right.
And make decisions in those, really complex social situations. That's huge.
It is huge.
Right.
And it opens up so many possibilities for, studying human behavior in a more controlled way.
Right.
And a more nuanced way.
Right.
Imagine, being able to run these virtual experiments on things like prejudice or cooperation.
Right.
And then taking what you learn and using that to develop, new interventions or policies in the real world.
That would be incredible.
Right.
It could, completely change how we approach social problems.
Yeah.
It feels like we're, on the edge of something truly, transformative.
I think so.
But, let's shift gears for a sec.
Okay.
I'm kind of curious to know how they actually create these AI agents.
Yeah.
Is it super complicated?
Right.
Do you need to have a PhD in computer science to make one?
Well, the technology behind it is pretty advanced.
Right.
But the researchers have made it surprisingly easy to actually do it.
Right.
They released a toolkit that allows, anyone with some basic coding skills
Oh, really?
to create their own AI agents from interview data.
So you don't need to be a tech wizard to build these things?
No.
That's so cool. I'm sure, some of our listeners right now are, thinking about how they could use this technology for their own projects.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most exciting things about this research. It's not just some theoretical thing.
Right.
It actually has the potential to empower people to explore and understand human behavior in a completely new way.
This is so cool. It's like giving people the power to create their own little like virtual societies and just like see what happens. But,
Yeah,
like they say, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
exactly.
What are like some of the potential downsides?
Yeah.
I mean, could this technology be used for things that aren't so beneficial?
Yeah, that's like a really important question.
Right.
And it's one that the researchers have been very careful about.
Right.
They've said many times how important it is to use this technology responsibly and ethically.
Right.
For example, we need to be really careful about privacy.
Right, of course.
These AIs are built from personal information.
Right.
So we need to make absolutely sure that data is handled securely and ethically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
You wouldn't want like someone's personal thoughts and experiences being used without, their consent.
Right.
What about like accuracy?
Yeah.
I mean, even if an AI can like perfectly replicate something's behavior,
Yeah.
does that really mean it actually understands what's going on?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Right.
We have to remember that these AI agents, they're just simulations.
Okay.
They're not real people. They can't feel emotions or truly understand, how complex human experience is.
Right. So we have to be careful about like over-interpreting their behavior.
Yeah.
Or assuming they have the same level of understanding as a real person.
Exactly.
They're tools,
Yes.
that can help us learn.
Yeah.
But they're not replacements for like real human interaction and understanding.
And it's important to remember that this technology, I mean, it's still brand new. It's still developing.
Right.
There are limitations to what these AI agents can do.
Okay.
Like, they might not be able to accurately predict behavior in completely new situations.
Right.
Or situations that are, like, really emotionally charged.
So they're good at like finding those patterns.
Right.
But they might not be able to handle those weird situations where
Yeah.
like human intuition and creativity are really important.
Right.
Got it.
But even with those limitations,
Yeah.
this technology has incredible potential
Right.
to help us understand human behavior so much better.
Right.
And the fact that the researchers made it so easy to use means that we're really just starting to explore all the things it can do.
This is so exciting.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how this develops and, what new insights will come out of it.
Me too.
But before we get like too carried away,
Yeah.
let's take a step back
Okay.
and think about the bigger picture.
Okay.
What are like the philosophical implications of all of this?
Right.
If AI can simulate us this well,
Right.
does that change how we view ourselves as humans?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
And one that we'll need to really think about
Right.
as this technology keeps getting better.
Right.
But let's save that conversation for after the break.
Okay.
We'll be back soon to explore those deep philosophical questions. We're back and ready to dive into the final part of our deep dive into these incredible AI agents that can like simulate real people.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has.
We went from unpacking how these AIs are even built
Right.
to like all the amazing things they can do.
Yeah.
And now we're at the big question, the one that's kind of been like lurking in the back of my mind this whole time. If AI can replicate human behavior this well, what does that even say about us as humans?
Right. Like, are we actually that predictable?
Right.
Is free will just an illusion?
I mean, those are some seriously heavy questions.
They are big questions.
We've always like thought of ourselves as unique and, unpredictable.
Right.
But if an algorithm can just like capture our essence, does that mean we're just like a bunch of walking, talking patterns?
It's definitely something to think about, but maybe instead of seeing it as a threat to, our uniqueness, we could see it as like an opportunity.
Okay, I like that.
Right. To like really reflect on ourselves.
So instead of freaking out and saying, oh no, AI is going to replace us, we could say, wow, AI can help us like understand ourselves better.
Exactly.
Right.
Maybe these AI agents can even show us those patterns in our own behavior that we don't even realize are there.
Right.
They could help us understand why we make the choices we do.
Right.
Or why we react to things in certain ways.
It's like having a mirror that reflects not just what we do,
Right.
but like why we do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like our inner workings.
And maybe, by understanding those patterns, we can actually break free from them.
Right.
Become more aware of our biases, more intentional with our actions, and ultimately, more in control of our own lives.
So AI could actually help us become like more human.
Right, not less.
Exactly.
Like,
It's not about us versus the machines. It's
Yeah.
about us and machines like working together
Right.
to create a better future.
I love that idea. And, who knows, maybe by studying these AI agents,
Yeah.
we'll discover that human behavior is even more complex
Uh-huh.
and nuanced than we ever thought.
Right. Maybe it's those quirks and inconsistencies that make us human,
Right.
that also make us unpredictable
Right.
and ultimately like irreplaceable.
It's a pretty fascinating thought, and it definitely leaves me feeling like hopeful,
I do.
hopeful about the future. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap things up.
Yeah, I agree.
This deep dive has been absolutely incredible.
It has.
A journey into like the world of AI and, what it means to be human.
It's really made us think about things in a new way.
It definitely challenged some of my assumptions.
Yeah,
But it also sparked my imagination
mine too.
and definitely gave me a lot to think about.
Me too.
So to all of our listeners out there, we encourage you to keep exploring these ideas, keep asking those big questions, and keep diving deep.
Because the more we learn about ourselves, the more amazing the world becomes.
That's all for this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep those brains buzzing.